Welcome, viewers and guests, to this online live broadcast of the 2021 New Year's reception of the Faculty of Social and Behavioral Sciences. What do we have in store for you? We will start with a big thank you to all our teaching staff. It has been truly amazing to see how fast they transformed their usual face-to-face teaching into online forms. After that, I will say a few words in a spoken New Year's column instead of a traditional Dean's speech. Next, we proceed with the Pieter de la Cour medals. The medals are awarded for an initiative by a student or a student group that, over the past academic year, made a particular contribution to at least one of the Pieter de la Cour themes: diversity, inclusivity, democracy, entrepreneurship, and world trade. After the awarding of the medals, we have a short lecture by Dr. Ezawa, the diversity officer of Leiden University. She will talk about how the university can become more inclusive and diverse. And last but not least, we will announce the winners of the Master's Thesis Awards. But first, the Casimir Teaching Award. 2020 was a very special year. All our teaching staff had to suddenly jump their teaching to online forums. It makes us proud to see that the quality of the teaching has not been affected. To thank all our teaching staff for their efforts, we have made a small tribute.
Bedankt docenten, thank you teaching staff.
A big thank for our teaching staff. I would like now to invite our Vice Dean, Kristiaan van der Heijden. Kristiaan, this year we have a special edition of the Casimir Teaching Award. Can you tell us a bit about why we turned this into a special edition?
Yes, Paul, thank you. The Casimir Teaching Award is the annual award for the best teacher of our faculty, and it is named after Casimir, who was the first Dutch professor in education and child studies who worked at Leiden University in the first half of the 20th century. Casimir was first and foremost an extremely dedicated and inspiring and excellent teacher. The Casimir Award is normally bestowed by a faculty jury based on nominations from each institute, but a couple of weeks ago, several institutes pointed out that this year actually all teachers of our faculty deserve a teaching award. And of course, everyone agreed with that. It was quite a hard year for all of our teachers. Teachers had to adapt their classes to online education, often in a very short space of time. And this required changes in didactics, in teaching design, in the setup of courses. Teachers had to delve deeply into new teaching software such as Kaltura, Remindo, Microsoft Teams, but also Brightspace, which was introduced last year. Assessment of students had to be changed. There were many questions by students to teachers, and often there was no clarity at all about how the situation would develop in the upcoming period. Should we be preparing for online or on-campus education? So teachers worked extremely hard. We're very, very creative and innovative. We're dedicated, flexible, and persistent. And that's why this year we want to grant the Casimir Teaching Award symbolically to all faculty teachers, but also to all support staff and students, because they also made enormous efforts. So thank you to all of you on behalf of the faculty board and the institute boards. Good luck in this new year, and I hope it will be a very successful, inspiring, but also healthy new year.
Thank you, Kristiaan. These are indeed special times, and we are really proud of all our teaching staff. Dear students and staff members, I would like now to address you in a short column, and I would like to start this with again applause to all of you. For 3 reasons. First of all, for your improvisational talents that you have shown, which are clearly also illustrated by Kristiaan. Second, for your willingness to support each other and work together across boundaries of departments and institutions and institutes. And thirdly, for your capacity to keep focusing on your long and medium-term priorities in your research projects, in your learning goals, and in your innovative teaching ambitions, even in the midst of a raging pandemic. In the improvisation and difficult jumpy dance that we collectively performed since March 2020, we have sown the seeds also for a happier and more inclusive Faculty of Social and Behavioral Sciences with a new rhythm and groove. In the coming year, we will try to harvest. Perhaps we can capture this in the motto, open collaboration for inclusive knowledge. This touches upon both process, open collaboration, how do we work together, what kind of academic and work culture do we create together, and about result, outcome, inclusive knowledge. How fundamentally novel can we get in our insights and methods? The idea that society is not the result of a God-given order, but a human creation, took hold about 250 years ago, in the last quarter of the 18th century. This created the philosophical possibility of systematic empirical social science. And since then, the social sciences have proliferated in a complex relation to the existing power structure in our society. On the one hand, university-based social science tends to reflect and support the powers that be by creating governance tools and concepts, by monitoring social developments, and by training future civil servants and leaders for contemporary industry and services. On the other hand, social science is a continuously renewing resource of social critique by creating alternatives, by producing disruptive new methodologies and social technologies, by developing penetrating and sometimes harsh analysis of commonly held assumptions, and last but not least, by enabling social mobility and forming new cadres and kinds of leadership in society. And the way these two roles of social science, often seen as conflicting, but actually both valuable, are interacting with each other. The way these interactions are shapes the social and intellectual dynamics of the various disciplines in the social sciences, and wider also in relation to the humanities and other sciences, and thereby is creating an important source of renewal in society. Now, this holds also for our faculty. This year, as you will know, we will formulate our mission and strategy for the coming years based on the work we've been doing the past 2 years. One of our goals is to develop a truly inclusive social science which builds on the knowledge and experiences of all peoples and cultures. Not because it is fashionable, but because it is necessary and urgent to address and enlighten the current crisis in society. Such a social science can only be created by an inclusive community with a safe and sustainable learning and work culture. Hence, open collaboration for inclusive knowledge is, I see it as the motto for the year to come. And the faculty board will take a host of initiatives ranging from improving our communication infrastructure and giving priority to social interaction in the use of our buildings, to building new labs and state-of-the-art infrastructure for research, to connecting the methodological research and teaching in the different institutes more intimately with each other for interdisciplinary synergy, to enabling new career trajectories, both in teaching and research, to reducing the administrative workload, not unimportant, and to keep investing in teacher support. I can't mention all these initiatives now, but I can assure you that they will be realized in a very close collaboration of student and staff members in the institutes, with staff of the faculty board, and with the help of the monthly exchanges in the faculty council. I stress this because we learned also this year that the organization of the university in columns has its limits. And we experienced in a more deep way than perhaps in the past the value of project-oriented management based on trust in the professional judgment of our staff members. And this year we will anchor this permanently in the organization of the faculty so that we can better serve the needs of the institutes and you as students and staff members, both scientific staff and operational staff. To conclude, last year we partly reinvented ourselves as a faculty because we had to. This year, society as a whole will have to redesign itself, and we have an important responsibility to contribute there. And the more we will be able to develop our creative, collaborative, and inclusive academic culture, the more we will be able to contribute to an open and free society with more equal chances for all, irrespective of class and ethnicity. Well, sorry it took maybe a bit longer than you expected, but I would like now to proceed to the Pieter de la Cour medals. And the nominees will present themselves in a video about their projects. So to repeat and to remind you, what are the Pieter de la Cour medals for? They are awarded each year for an initiative by a student or a student group that over the last academic year has made a particular contribution to at least one of the Pieter de la Cour themes: diversity, inclusivity, entrepreneurship, world trade, and democratization. The student or student initiative must come from the Faculty of Social and Behavioral Sciences. And the prize is awarded, and this makes it, I think, a special prize, by fellow students. So it is an initiative for students, by students. So now let's have a look at the nominated students' initiatives of this year.
Hey allemaal, ik ben Bram Geurts, 20 jaar oud en studeer politicologie aan de Universiteit Leiden. Naast mijn studie ben ik politiek actief in de Westlandse Jongerenraad. Ik probeer Westlandse jongeren politiek bewust en actief te maken door middel van het organiseren van diverse politieke projecten. Ik vind dat jongeren te weinig gehoord worden in de politiek, terwijl dit wel de toekomstgeneratie is. Ik breng jongeren en politici bij elkaar. Ik coördineer Westlandse jongeren met het schrijven van adviesstukken die daadwerkelijk gepresenteerd worden aan de Westlandse gemeenteraad. En breng schoolbezoeken om jongeren te laten zien wat je met politiek kan bereiken. Met als resultaat dat Westlandse politici daadwerkelijk aan de slag zijn gegaan met deze geschreven adviesstukken en dat Westlandse jongeren daadwerkelijk politiek actief zijn geworden. In 2021 gaan we verder en gaan we een lijsttrekkersdebat organiseren waarin jongerenthema's op de agenda staan. Jongerenparticipatie is een essentiële kwaliteit van de lokale democratie en hier zou ik mij altijd voor blijven inzetten. Dankjewel.
Leiden, that's a non-therapeutic support group for students of Leiden University who are survivors of sexual violence. CARE has been originally founded in Amsterdam by Stichting Our Bodies, Our Voice and by the troop psychologists Anestia and Angela. We are now implementing their concept at Leiden University. The support group provides a safe space for survivors. They can find comfort by sharing their experiences with others who have gone through similar experiences. They can share coping mechanisms and support each other in the process of overcoming their trauma and regaining their self-love and confidence. Group sessions started in the beginning of this academic year. They are guided by the two psychologists Anestia and Angela. They make the space safe and inclusive by combining collective care with a feminist approach. A special thanks goes to them. Special thanks also go to Aya Ezawa and my fellow psychology students Semra and Lana for their support with the project. Also, a huge thanks to the Van Bergen Fund and the Diversity Office for their financial support.
Now on the screen, the chair of the jury of the Pieter de la Cour medal, Rebecca Talbot, was one of the 3 medal winners last year. Rebecca, can you please tell us about the deliberations in the jury and who will win the medals?
Of course. Dear nominees, I would like to share with you the deliberations of the jury. We looked at the impact of your actions and whether they could inspire others. We checked that the student was not paid for the action, and of course we assessed whether it met one of the Pieter de la Cour themes. This year we have had a lot of applications, and I'm delighted to tell you 2 of them stood out. And therefore, after hours of deliberating, we decided that Bram and Clara should win the Pieter de la Cour medals this year. I will now clarify this decision. Bram won this year's medal for democratization and entrepreneurship. Bram is a valued member of the Westland Youth Council. In the position of vice president, he is the voice of young people in local politics. One of the issues he puts his heart and soul into is sustainability. Litter is one of the problems Westland faces on a daily basis. Bram started initiatives involving the Youth Council and other young people in cleaning up the beach and the city. These actions made a major impact on his environment and that of sea life. His actions were intended to create awareness and engagement in the much bigger problem of sustainability. In addition, he writes position papers for the City Council to make sure young people's voices are represented and heard. Even though Westland Youth Council is officially for local purposes, Bram held a survey concerning the position of young people. On the basis of these results of this survey, he wrote a letter to the Prime Minister concerning the position of young people during the COVID-19 pandemic. The jury was very impressed by the way Bram involved young people in his actions. We consider him the glue between politicians, political decision-making, and young people themselves. He is an inspiration for all young people and students to get involved and ensure their voices are heard. I am therefore honored to congratulate Bram on behalf of the jury and secretary of the Pieter de la Cour medal for winning this medal. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Clara is one of the founders of the initiative Care Leiden. The jury are aware that sexual violence is still a taboo subject, which can make it very difficult for victims to find help and support, especially for international students. This initiative is a bridge between the right care and support for victims of sexual violence, but also between international and Dutch students. And this initiative is open to all genders. Even though the support group is low in members, the jury can see the impact on survivors' lives is high. Sexual violence is known to lead to PTSD, intense feelings of guilt and shame, depression, and substance abuse. Student well-being can therefore be positively influenced by this initiative. Such initiatives are especially important at the moment, now in times of social isolation due to corona, which is known to lead to more violence. In relation to corona, students who do not have a safe living environment have a high risk of encountering sexual violence. The jury were very impressed with the effort put into this initiative. And we hope that it can help more students who are struggling with the effects of sexual violence on their daily lives. This initiative makes the university more inclusive and safer. Clara leads by example, showing what it means to be an academic community, and this makes her an inspiration for all. And therefore, it's my honor to congratulate Clara on behalf of the jury and the secretary of the Pieter de la Cour Medal on winning the Medal for Inclusion and Entrepreneurship. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Rebecca, for sharing the deliberations of the jury. Bram, may I ask you, what effect will the medal have on your ambitions with regard to democracy and entrepreneurship?
Thank you. Mijn passie is om jongeren een stem te geven in de politiek. Jongeren zijn enorm creatief, maar weten vaak niet hoe hun ideeën de politiek bereiken. Deze Pieter de la Cour penning geeft mij een enorme boost om dit werk door te gaan zetten en mijn uiteindelijke doel te gaan bereiken: jongerenparticipatie als onmisbare factor in de Nederlandse politiek. Dankjewel.
Thank you, Bram. So I understand your passion is to give young people a voice in politics because they are very creative, but often have no idea how their ideas can reach politicians. And this award gives you an enormous boost to continue this work. And you have a goal, youth participation as an essential factor in Dutch politics. I wish you a lot of success with that. Clara, may I also ask you, what inspired you to take up your activities that led to this initiative?
I think a lot of different things inspired me. It's really difficult to pinpoint it down, but I think one of the big things is the Me Too movement, in which so many strong women and also men came up and talked about their experiences. And I just think it's also so important to give them the support they need, because so many people also already show strength by talking about their experiences, and I would love to support them on their journey because I think they deserve the support.
Okay, thank you very much. Bram and Clara, both of you, congratulations again on your models. These medals are for you. And I would like now, and of course, as I already indicated, all the best with your endeavors in relation to the Pieter de la Cour themes. They're very important, at the heart of what we feel about is crucial in our faculty. So again, congratulations and lots of success, and hope to see you in the near future again, perhaps also face to face. Two of the themes of Pieter de la Cour are diversity and inclusivity, which, as we all know, are really important to our faculty. So with that in mind, we invited Ezawa, the diversity officer of Leiden University, to inspire us to keep up the good work. How do we connect insights from all over the world in our education and teaching and research? Aya, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paul, for your invitation to join this New Year's reception of the Faculty of Social and Behavioral Sciences. It's really wonderful to see the student initiatives. Congratulations on your award. And above all, to see your commitment, to witness your commitment, the commitment of the faculty board to diversity and inclusion. So I'm really glad to very briefly address you here today with some thoughts about diversity and inclusion at Leiden University. One of my tasks as diversity officer is to translate our ambitions of creating a diverse and inclusive learning and working environment into action. But it's one thing to have the shared ideal, and another to actually make it happen. We've talked about Black Lives Matter, about an inclusive curriculum, about disability and the accessibility of online learning environments, and about celebrating all stripes of the Progress Pride flag, among others. But if we agreed on it, how come it hasn't all already happened? The challenge is that diversity inclusion is not something you can impose. Inclusion needs to be embraced by the community at large to make it happen. And it is not something someone else will fix for us. We need to do this together. Diversity is about the presence of diverse experiences and perspectives within our community. Inclusion is how we engage with this diversity, how we see each other, and interact with each other, and how we make sure the community is everyone's community, and a community where everyone can feel inspired and can develop their potential. What does it take to put ideas into action? As scholars, we're used to focusing on ideas and arguments. But, and this may sound a bit unnatural for a scholar to say, making inclusion happen requires much more than a well-supported argument, because knowing is not the same thing as doing. To translate ideas into action requires engagement and acting on it as a community. Let's take teaching as an example. What does it take for students to learn, and how can we ensure a learning experience that includes all students? It's obvious that students don't learn simply by receiving a long email with a list of recommended literature. What inspires and allows students to be curious and grow is how we teach knowledge and how we engage with each other in discussing this knowledge. Learning is a social and an emotional process, which shapes our motivation, our engagement, and our personal growth. And that depends on the kind of classroom community we build. That's why the way we engage with each other and an inclusive learning environment is so important. Universities are fundamentally middle-class institutions which normally focus on individual achievement. We think of students and scholars as individuals and focus on individual grades and performance. We think about our personal intentions, goals and achievements, and much less about how our actions intentionally or unintentionally affect others. But to perform well, we all need an environment that inspires and motivates. This is also the kind of environment that contributes to innovation. If we've learned anything during the Corona period, I think, it is how crucial our social life and feeling understood by one another are for our own well-being, which in turn is fundamental to being able to learn and do our work. So what can we do? Inclusion is first and foremost a matter of approach. Avoid taking yourself and your own experience for granted and exercise openness and empathy in approaching others. Recognize that you are not the best judge of what another person experiences or feels. There's much we can learn from each other. Inclusion is not just a matter of how we treat students and colleagues, but should also inform our work on a daily basis. When you develop a syllabus for a course, you can choose to think about who you yourself think are the most important authors. Or you can think about how the readings and authors relate to the diverse experiences of our students. Or even better, consider making it a collaborative project. Discuss with your colleagues the ambitions of your program or institute. How do we position our fields and expertise within a diverse, globalized, and decolonized world? When you hire, do you focus on individual performance and expertise, or how a new colleague could actively contribute to a diverse and inclusive work environment? Creating an inclusive university is about much more than academics, and involves engaging in students and staff on all levels. A New Year's reception is a good place to start this kind of conversation. How do you look back on 2020? And what do you want to achieve, not only for yourself, but as a community in 2021? Change is about actively engaging with your community and building a social fabric which can enable an inclusive learning and working environment for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Aya, for your inspiring words, well spoken. Let's now proceed to the next prize. The prize is for the best master's thesis and the best research master's thesis. And for that, I would like to invite the chair of the jury, Philip Spinhoven, to this table.
Thank you, Paul.
Welcome, Philip. Thank you for joining us. Please tell us about the deliberations of the jury.
Thank you. The prizes, last but not least, as already told by Paul, The faculty board has requested the institutes of our faculty to nominate their top-rated master and also research master's thesis for the 2020 faculty master thesis prizes. The jury for both awards consisted of 5 PhD students, and I will call them by their names. Nienke Bouw from Education and Child Studies, Lucas Spielberger from Political Sciences, Sion Wu from Cultural Anthropology, Manon Schutter from Psychology, and Sigao Fang from the Center for Science and Technology Studies, and was chaired by me. Let's start with the Master Thesis Prize. As being nominated is a prize in itself, I hereby also want to mention the names of the 4 nominees for the Master Thesis Prize. Those were Robert-Jan de Rooij from Psychology, Theo Pavlovich from Cultural Anthropology, Roos van Lin from Education and Child Studies, and John Baldwin Quintanilla from Political Sciences. And the jury was very pleased to note that the 4 nominations were all of high scientific quality and also societal relevance, while at the same time they were very different in terms of design and research methods. And after some discussion of the ratings of the members of the jury, we unanimously decided in favor of the thesis nominated by the Institute of Psychology. The award-winning thesis for the Master's Thesis Prize was supervised by Dr. Anne van het Veer and was entitled Data Blinding in Psychology, Introducing a Tool and Practical Guidelines for Common Analysis, and was written by Robert-Jan de Rooij. To illustrate why Robert-Jan de Rooij deserves this prize, I now see him on the screen, I quote from the jury report. With his thesis, Robert-Jan makes a very important contribution not only to the field of psychology, but to quantitative sciences in general. The method he proposes, called data blinding, hides certain aspects of the data which allows researchers to make data-dependent decisions, for example, checking assumptions to ensure the right analysis, without knowing the influence of these decisions on the results of their hypothesis test. As biases and p-hacking in psychology has received a lot of negative attention recently, it is to be applauded that Robert-Jan approaches this topic from a positive perspective. By examining the suitability of different blinding techniques for 3 very common analyses in psychology, he contributes to the reliable reporting of research findings and an open science framework in general. On top of that, he developed a tool that allows data blinders to easily apply data blinding techniques to their dataset, for which he independently learned how to make an R package freely available for interested researchers. So we were very pleased to unanimously endow Robert-Jan with the prize, and hereby I want to show the certificate which I can give you in person, but rightly and well deserved. It was not only the task to endow the Master Thesis Prize, but also the Research Master Thesis Prize. There were only 2 nominations, as there was no nomination from political sciences. So we had to choose between 2 theses, one by Meerte Teunissen from Education and Child Studies, and the other one from Florian Thomas Odenthal from Psychology. And being forced to make a choice between these 2 theses was really a kind of Solomon judgment, as both theses received almost identical scores for scientific quality, creativity in terms of research design and approach, relevance and readability. And as in this digital area, we could not follow a strategy to reveal the true feelings of the nominating parties by cutting the master thesis in 2. We decided both have won, and both must have prizes one way or the other. But we had to make a choice. And after a very constructive and lively discussion of the arguments underlying the individual ratings of the members of the jury, we unanimously decided that our nomination for the LUF Master Thesis Prize 2020 would go to the thesis put forward by the Institute of Psychology. Florian Thomas Oldenthal's thesis will thus be nominated by the faculty for the LUF Master Thesis Prize. And this thesis was supervised by Dr. Mark Modendijk and was entitled A Healthy Diet Against Depression. Strong conclusions from weak evidence, a systematic review. And to illustrate why Florian deserves this nomination by our faculty for the LUF Master Thesis Prize, I quote shortly from the jury report. The potential effect of diet on depression onset and treatment is a topic widely debated in the scientific and also popular literature. And Florian noticed variance in the strength of the conclusions reported and decided to investigate what are the sources of the different opinions about the relation about diet and depression in the literature. He systematically searched databases for narrative reviews, for systematic reviews, and also for meta-analysis on the effects of diet on depression, and independently rated, and that is very innovative, their conclusions as strong, moderate, or weak using a standardized approach, the so-called grade approach. And the data showed that narrative reviews, among others, were much more likely than meta-analysis to report strong conclusion about the relationship of diet with depression. And the main findings of Florian's thesis were recently published in an international peer-reviewed journal, PLOS ONE, and also the paper received widespread media attention. So it rightly earned the nomination for the Love Prize. So as by now you may have deduced, the second unanimous decision of the jury was to nominate the Research Master Thesis Prize of the faculty, forwarded to the thesis by the Institute of Education and Child Studies. So the award-winning thesis, Research Master Thesis, is the thesis of Pieter Teunissen, supervised by Professor Paul Wouters, and is entitled A Multiple Perspective Approach to Decision-Making in Foster Care Decision-Making for Family Reunification in the Netherlands. A long title, but perhaps some quotes from the jury report will illustrate the content of the title and also why it was rightly awarded the Master Thesis Prize. Congratulations. The topic of her thesis is of high societal relevance. As an important and also challenging task in child welfare is taking decisions on the reunification of children with their birth parents after the children have lived in formal family foster care. And there are no empirical data to guide these decisions. So the present thesis tried to generate the necessary evidence-based knowledge to make this decision more evidence-based for different groups involved in this difficult decision-making process. In her innovative study, Myrte used concept mapping to identify the perspective, on the one hand, of foster care professionals, and on the other hand, also the perspective of the juvenile court. And next, the unique criteria of each group were rated by foster care professionals, but also by family judges. They were analyzed with sophisticated multidimensional scaling analysis and hierarchical cluster analysis, and this resulted in a concept map of each perspective. And on the basis of these results, Myrte made several suggestions to help parties involved in making this process of decision-making more insightful and hopefully also more qualitative, better than it was in the past without this necessary knowledge. So we were very pleased unanimously to endow Myrte Teunissen with the certificate for the Research Master Thesis Prize, which is shown by this. Congratulations, also on behalf of the jury. And well, now the names are known. I will give the floor to Paul, who wants to ask you some personal questions.
Thank you, Philip. Congratulations, Robert Jan, Myrte, and Florian. Robert Jan, may I start with a question to you? What was your most memorable moment during your research?
Hi, and thank you for giving me the time to speak, and of course for the certificate. I think the most memorable moment has been more than one, and it's been the discussion with my supervisor, Dr. Anne van het Weer. So it's been invaluable for the project on its own, but has also been the way forward, I think, during the Corona crisis. As we haven't been able to meet face to face, I think this was the only point of contact that actually helped me finish the thesis, as it's been quite a long process. It's an important topic, which isn't only relevant for psychology, but also for the other disciplines. And I think simply having the hour-long meetings, which isn't an overstatement, unfortunately, has been the most memorable moment during the entire process.
Well, thanks. It's good to hear how you managed to produce this very good and very innovative. I'm really curious to read it also, thesis. Myrte and Florian, may I ask you, I'm really curious, what was it like to work on your thesis during the Corona crisis. It's of course it was not a normal year, so it must have been also for you quite challenging. So how did it work? Maybe Mette can start and then Florian, because we need to do this one after the other, of course, in this online environment.
Yes. Well, thank you for the prize. And actually, so I did most of the research the year before Corona.
Aha.
So I finished my research at last year, actually. So I didn't have the experience of doing studies during Corona.
Okay, well, that's you were a happy exception then for most of us, so that's good. But Florian, for you it was a bit different, I think. Florian is frozen. Okay, yeah, that is, of course, dear viewers and guests, the disadvantage of online communication. I'm taking half a second to see whether Florian can reconnect. Okay, then I'm sure we'll find another way to hear the experiences of Florian later, face to face, hopefully. Let's now move to the closure of this New Year's reception, and of course, Mette, Florian, and Robert-Jan, I wish you all the best in your careers, and yeah, let's really meet face to face later this year. We've reached the end of this New Year's reception, and I hope you'll be able to find a glass at home. Ah, there is a glass, thank you very much. So we can make a toast to the new year, which I trust, although the coming months may still be difficult, will be much better than last year. Let's keep on learning new things. Let's work together as creatively and also friendly and in an inclusive, open atmosphere as we can. Stay inspired, and with that, Happy New Year.
New Year. Cheers.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.